How may we help you?
Well, this is a police station, isn't it?
Well, of course it is, Peter, yes.
Yes, because I tried to ring you earlier, but you must have changed your number. All I got was music playing in my ear. The thing is, my car's been stolen.
Your car's been stolen?
Yes.
Oh, Peter, I am sorry. Oh. And you'd like us to do something about it?
Well, yes, please.
OK. Well, have you had a look at our brochure, Peter, if you'll pardon the pun?
What pun?
Wasn't there one? Oh, I'm sorry. Well, Peter, if you'd like to come with me, we'll go through it together. Now, Peter, we offer basically 3 kinds of stolen car recovery service. That's the super, the lovely, and the gorgeous. Now, the super's a basic non-priority listing of your car. The lovely's higher priority, and the gorgeous is A1 top priority. We put all our team onto it, field and creative, and that also includes a full waxing and valeting of your car on recovery.
I see.
Obviously, Peter, the gorgeous is a more expensive service.
I beg your pardon?
Do you have an account with us?
Account? No.
Oh, you're a shareholder, perhaps?
Well, I'm a citizen, if that's what you mean.
Citizen? Oh, you mean client?
Look, I don't want to sound stupid, but I get back to England, I find my car's been stolen.
Peter, you've been away? Did you perhaps miss the privatisation of the police force? This is now a branch office of Brit Law PLC. Would you like to fill out a form?
Fill out a form? Fill out a form? You mean fill in a form? Has everyone suddenly turned American?
Now, Peter, I shall need your address, I shall need your place and date of birth, your car registration number, and we should be able to have an account verified within 14 days, subject to status.
This is insanity. I'm a taxpayer.
Peter, everybody had a chance to buy shares at the time of issue. It was all supervised by a reputable merchant bank. Well, by a merchant bank, anyway.
Hi there, I'm Jared Howard.
And I'm Robert Nisbet.
What could possibly go wrong?
Yes, Hugh Laurie and Stephen Fry with a little retroactive clip on privatizing the police.
We're going to be talking more about police problems in Ferguson, New York, Phoenix, and all over. But gotta have a sense of humor. If you don't, wow, you just end up banging your head up against concrete walls.
Of course, they are having an issue with the law courts over in London, in the UK, and they're trying to privatize probation services.
Yes. What could go wrong there?
Well, there may be some public safety issues.
Check it out.
Rehabilitation revolution. That's what the coalition government's promised. And in a bid to cut reoffending rates, the government's now planning to turn to private companies like G4S, with plans to outsource a large chunk of the service by 2015. That might come as a surprise to some, given the less than gold standard performance of G4S at last summer's Olympics, when they failed to deliver on promised security. And the plans have been met with fierce opposition from across the public sector, with many warning that far from a revolution,
it's a disaster waiting to happen, and we're extremely concerned about Grayling's proposals, the Justice Secretary's proposals, to privatise 2/3 of the workforce, 2/3 of the workload, and put it in the hands of untrained private sector providers.
the proposals will leave the public probation service with around 50,000 of the offenders who pose the greatest risk, with private and voluntary services looking after the rest. Consortia will bid for contracts on a payment by results basis. The fear is that placing this vital part of the criminal justice system into the hands of private companies could be putting communities at risk. The question is, though, who carries the risk if things don't work out?
At the end of the day, those private companies are going to be accountable to shareholders, not to the public, and their loyalties will be split. In fact, there will be no loyalty to the public. It will be primarily, if not only, to their shareholders.
The plans have also confused many in the public probation sector, which won the 2011 British Quality Foundation Gold Medal for Excellence. The government insists the plans are an evolution of the justice system, but those on the front line are warning that this bid to cut costs could come at a very high price.
So what could go wrong?
Well, private prisons, private probation officers, you know, I think there may be a whole rat's nest of things that could go wrong there.
Yes, Rat's nest, because it's snakes and rats, okay? We do need to be able to have control. We're going to be taking a look at 3 minutes to save the world in privatization, where you don't get a say in what goes on when things are privatized.
Of course, when monetary institutions get involved with privatizing public commodities, real issues occur.
Yes, and one of the real issues is the World Bank saying something stupid.
Like privatizing water. Here's Abby talking about that.
The World Bank, yes. Earlier this month, the international loan giant held 4 days of talks in D.C. to discuss a number of global issues, and in particular, the world's water crisis. With unprecedented droughts, massive water pollution, and the fact that a quarter of the global population does not have access to clean drinking water, the topic is no doubt worthy of discussion. Except the World Bank's proposed solution to this issue is to privatize the hell out of the world's most necessary resource. You see, since the 1980s, the bank has used its International Finance Corporation division to privatize utilities from electricity to telecommunications in developing countries around the world. Under the guise of austerity measures with absurd preconditions, the group has gradually forced the transfer of publicly owned resources into the hands of a select few profit-driven companies. Unsurprisingly, the effort has been largely an unmitigated disaster. According to the World Bank's own data, 34% of its private water and sewage contracts signed between 2000 and 2010 are failing or in distress. Not to mention the projects that the bank considers successes are leading to skyrocketing water bill rates, unequal distribution, and failing water infrastructure systems. See, infrastructure development just isn't a big moneymaker, which is why privatizing water is so dangerous. There are some things that just shouldn't be seen as just another commodity. And when an organization like the World Bank is mimicking the corporate structure of a company that doesn't think water is a public right, that should raise red flags for all of us.
Holy monumentally stupid.
You wonder what's next, privatizing the air we breathe?
Ah, that could be, did you ever see the Lorax?
But then you could, buy cans of it.
Yeah.
Like that Chinese entrepreneur did.
Yes, and it apparently didn't work. We are talking about privatization, and we want you to get informed because we do have some specials coming up surrounding this one. And
there's been a real issue about education down the States. Apparently, test scores are failing. Of course, the answer to that is making a profit off of students.
What could possibly go wrong here?
Well, you never know until you look at this.
Does your little Timmy look happy and fulfilled at his public school? Well, he's not. Timmy's school is failing, and those students around him, losers.
But I like my public school.
No, Timmy's not happy or fulfilled, and he's getting dumber by the day. See, public education may look like it's working, but just like Timmy, it's not. After a top right-wing think tank devoted $30 million marketing dollars to label public education failing, it's clearly time to privatize. Yes, with privatization, we'll get little Timmy's test scores up. Test scores actually down. And Profit Ship Learning's profits upper. We cut the fat and focus on results. Say goodbye to art, gym, social studies, and librarians. Say hello to test prep. And yes, more test prep. By cutting pay and cutting teachers, Timmy will now be treated to a practical, goals-based, competitive, sensical, forward-driving, skills-oriented, brain-stimulative educational product. And Profit Ship Learning Inc. will be treated to public funds. Win-win. It's time we ditch those failing does not necessarily mean failing public schools and let corporations take over with charter schools and vouchers. Whether it's the Academy for Learning Skills and Stuff LLC or God's Lil Voucher School Inc., privatization delivers everything from cutting-edge religious creation science to bleeding-edge blended online learning. Oops, still need to work out the kinks with that one. So help Timmy dump those public schools and teachers, and you'll help Profit Ship Learning tap those public dollars. Our profits will fly like a rocket ship of revenue.
But I like my public school.
Profit Ship Learning Incorporated does not guarantee learning or future success for any enrolled client tots. Poorly performing clients may be enrolled in our competitive organ sales program to further enhance corporate profitability.
So you gotta love Mark Fiore.
Oh, he really does nail it, especially when he talks about test scores are not actually going down.
No, things are not improving down there. Also take a look at the education structure and the way that they teach kids. We're gonna be focusing on education coming up 2015. as the kids get ready to enter the workforce, we're going to be talking about how kids are not educated.
And I do seem to remember there being an issue last year about Chicago schools and teachers going out on strike.
Yes, and strikes here. The last nail in the democracy coffin is healthcare.
Yeah, they're experiencing privatization of healthcare over in the UK, and even our provincial governments are looking at it here.
This is a place we should not be going.
Take a look at what's going on in Ontario.
We are here to send a message to the Ontario government that the transfer of hospital services to community clinics is not the way to go.
I work in a hospital system and I talk to patients every day, and they're concerned about not having the resources they need in order to have essential surgeries and procedures done, because they don't have someone to take care of them. They can't afford some of the extra costs that are added on to this sort of thing. And it's devastating to our public health care.
And for every dollar that they're shifting out of the public hospitals into the private clinics, it means that we have less resources in the hospitals. And what that results in is that we end up with, on a cost per case basis, with a hospital system that ends up being less efficient.
I know that private healthcare has touched Brampton with the P3. Our paramedics now have to wait longer than ever waiting for rooms to be cleaned. That's something that never happened under the public system, and their contracts are absolutely obscure. They're in there for 50, however many years, and they have strange things like the hospital cleaners aren't allowed to clean bodily fluids. Well, it's a hospital. There's a lot of bodily fluids. It's just a system that doesn't work, and all it does is funnel public money into private profit.
I'd like to speak to the private people in Ontario. What are our next steps? Like, let's all go back, get involved in the Ontario Health Coalition, but let's all go back and get involved in the social justice movement. Fight them on the cuts all the way along. It's time to, I never thought I'd say this, but it is time for a revolution. It's stuff going on in Ontario today, it's just unconscionable.
So we're doing this special to make sure you get informed about the bad effects of privatization. One of the main ones, of course, being no public input once it goes into private hands.
And of course, we're not even looking at the privatization of secret intelligence or armed forces.
And of course, this is happening around the world, so we really need you to get informed on a global basis. I'm Darren Howard.
And I'm Robert Nisbet.
You're tuned into Video Radio on our special on privatization.
Independent media
for an intelligent world.
Subscribe here.
The private contracting games. Years in the making, now is their time to shine. Representing the power of the private sector, over 180,000 contractors are choreographed to display the number of dollars spent on private contracting in Iraq. Asserting their dominance on the world stage, these contractors show how they surpass U.S. troops in Iraq in number and pay. After years of training in Iraq, these private contracting executives demonstrate their skills of waste, fraud, and abuse. In a dazzling display of technological know-how, private contracting harnesses the disharmony of water, fire, and electricity. Representing the forbidden numbers of contracting, employee deaths and casualties are choreographed to disappear as corporations move offshore. The contractors are assembled, the giant flame is lit, and these fine specimens of sport are ready to win.
Experts say the global 1% is casting a wary eye on social instability. In fact, a recent survey by the Pew Research Center found that the wealthy are increasingly concerned about class conflict.
So that there is something to be worried about, you think?
Yes. Brian Yulee is part of the Occupy movement in West Palm Beach. He says a small minority in his group should make billionaires uneasy.
Yeah, I'm sure that tents and picket signs are physically threatening this guy's fortified yacht. Good reporting there, CNBC. Way to gloss over actual income inequality issues by highlighting some polls showing that the rich are concerned about the less wealthy being aware of them. Yes, the super elite are spending millions of dollars on their own private armies and reinforced mansions. You know, it's fitting that these people are living like drug kingpins, master criminals, and political oligarchs surrounded by their own luxury. After all, it's hard to be a billionaire banker these days without also being a criminal.